Welcome back to Primetime News.
And a special welcome once again to our viewers on TVJ International in the Cayman Islands and online at onespotmedia.com.
Up first this evening, the parliamentary opposition is demanding more details on plans to remove the General Consumption Tax, GCT, on imported raw food items.
With mounting concerns about the effects on Jamaica's agriculture sector and a global trade war, debate on the measure was suspended this afternoon in the House of Representatives.
Details from Andrea Chisholm.
Under the current regime, locally produced raw foods are not subject to GCT, but the tax is applied to imported raw food items, those coming into Jamaica. Finance Minister Favour Williams says that's not allowed under rules governing the World Trade Organization WTO. If it continues, Jamaica could face sanctions.
Therefore, both domestically produced and imported raw foodstuff will now be exempt from the payment of GCT. Madam Speaker, this amendment applies generally to the following items: fresh fruit and vegetables, ground provisions, legumes, onions and garlic, meat, chicken, fish, crustacean or mollusks, and corn. Although we are removing the GCT on imported raw foodstuff, this Honourable House should note that the items in question still attract taxes, primarily common external tariff CET and additional stamp duty.
The parliamentary opposition has concerns about the removal of GCT on imported raw food items, arguing that developed countries are able to heavily subsidize their agriculture sector. Spokesman on Finance Julian Robinson has questions.
Can you indicate which countries, if any, raised an objection to this? And did these objections take place within the ambit of the World Trade Organization, which has a process to deal with objections of this nature? And if you could indicate where within the process that objection got to and whether there was a resolution. I raise this because the removal of GCT on imported items has the potential to negatively impact the local agricultural sector, notwithstanding what anybody wants to say.
Jamaica's trade policy was being reviewed by the WTO, and it was noted it was not a specific country, but by way of the process of review. The UK and the EU asked that we correct all measures inconsistent with our WTO obligations, and this happened in 2024.
Minister Williams says the process began in November 2023 with the WTO reviewer and comments from the European Union and United Kingdom were in July-August of 2024. In the meantime, opposition spokesman on industry Anthony Hilton argues that the timing is bad and WTO rules have turned upside down as some developed countries have imposed additional taxes.
The imposition of tariff at this point of time has meant that any consideration that we may have had in terms of working with the rules to phase out some of these measures that we have imposed, I think we now have to consider that these are now protective measures in light of what is emerging, what is evolving in terms of trade policies in being imposed in developed countries.
In keeping with the request from the opposition, the debate was suspended to further assess the potential impact on Jamaica. The United States has imposed a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada while promising to impose more taxes, spiking concerns about a global trade war. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.